Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from Auri, 3 Candles and Beginnings, out August 15th on Nuclear Blast. The album has 10 tracks, 56 minutes in length, and this is the band's third full-length studio album. They are a Finnish progressive folk band. When it comes to the design of this record, I think the best word to describe it is seamless. The way the album moves through these songs, it's so easy to lose track of where you are within the record, and losing track of where you are allows this album to feel like it's just one song. It just has different momentums in it, almost like a movie with different scenes, different sounds, different actors, but all part of a much larger picture. This record really creates that essence. And by creating that essence allows you to navigate through this record a lot easier. The album, from a design standpoint, facilitates the progression and the growth that exists within the sound, but that also exists within the overall ambiance that the record offers, making you feel like there's something there to be discovered every single time you press play. This is great for any record, but definitely an album that has this approach allows it for a much deeper impact. It allows for the listener to feel connected and rejuvenated every time you press play, and not necessarily just looking for a song here and a song there. It's more about the collective experience that comes out of the individualities. As far as the sound is concerned, this album is definitely very folky. I would go as far as to say it's progressive, but not necessarily in a technical sonic sense, at least not the way metalheads expect a progressive rock or progressive metal to come across. This album is more progressive in terms of how the songs are created, the thought process behind them, the execution, the atmospheres that are put forward, and then how the vocals and sound interact with one another, using the vocals a lot more like an instrument than anything else that you could imagine. So this album is progressive from that standpoint. But then it's also a soundscape that offers texture, warmth, it's rich. It has an earthy feel to it at times, and definitely very atmospheric. It's not a big sounding record, but the sound travels tremendously through it. It doesn't have borders. It's not an album that's boxed in. There are no elements within the sound that define the parameters or the borders of where each and every single song can go. The songs can go as far as the sound allows them to go, and the sound on this record travels very far. It almost dissipates on the edges. I think that's a great element of the album. It adds to that seamless movement that exists within the design of the record, but it also brings this sense of simplicity to the forefront, which makes the album a lot easier to digest. This is not one of those records, even though it's 56 minutes in length, at the end of the album, you don't feel tired from the listening experience. You're ready to go back again and listen to the record all over again, because the album felt like it was easy to navigate to, it was easy to consume, was easy to digest, and that sense of simplicity that exists within the record hides the complexity that is also there. And this is why every time you listen to this album, sonically, you're going to discover something new. You're going to discover a different element, a different texture, a different sound, almost a different aroma that the songs can give. And the pictures that the songs paint become a lot more clear. It's almost like you're adding another color to that canvas every time you play this record. So the album has this really cool approach to it that allows it to create songs that have a wide footprint, that have a wide base, but they're not necessarily limited by it, and they don't have necessarily borders that define it. I think that is the biggest compliment I can give an album that has this sort of sound, that has this sort of experience. Now, the folkier side of this record works really well, because that's where you start to see a lot of the textures coming in. That's where you start to see a lot of the richness of the sound to come through, and that's definitely where you're going to see that more earthy experience being defined. But there's so many other elements. The keys on this record are really interesting, because they work almost like a breeze that's coming through the album, really hitting the sails and pushing that sailboat forward, allowing it to have more maneuverability, which is really important for this record, because overall, having that experience from the keys, it also adds to the atmosphere of the individual songs and then the overall vibe and atmosphere that the record offers. The drums add that sense of earthiness to the sound. There's certain tracks that really needed it in order to have some more depth behind them, so that they don't feel as stripped down, but always in a very economic sense, in terms of not doing too much with the sound, so that the sound doesn't have one single element that defines it, but it's rather defined by the globality of all of them, still with those individual touches on a song by song basis to help define the individuality of those tracks as they add to the overall big picture of the record. And then you have the vocals. I believe that the vocals, they definitely are, I mean, everybody says this, the vocals are an instrument, but on this record, they're definitely one of the biggest instruments. I would say the folkiness of the record on one hand and the vocal delivery on the other are the two main pillars in which this record is built upon. The vocals are beautiful, angelic at times, very natural, very organic. Some of the songs with some backing vocals work really well because they add a little bit more emphasis, they add a little bit more life. But more importantly, I always felt like the vocals were not just there to tell a story, they were also there to define what that picture is and to help to paint it. And I think that's a very interesting aspect of this album, that if you equate this overall record with a sailboat, the sound is the current of the ocean, while the vocals are the wind that hits those sails. This album is really designed to have those two main elements as the driving forces, and the vocals definitely do not disappoint top to bottom. It's an incredible, vocally focused, vocally driven album with a lot of warmth, a lot of earthiness, and a lot of angelic moments within it. Great record all around, a super interesting album to listen to. The record is built almost like a maze because you lose yourself in it, but at the exact same time is a maze that has a sense of path and a sense of direction that allows you to see not the end from the start, but the end becomes defined with every step you take towards it. As far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start with the Invisible Gossamer Bridge. This is the album opener, and I believe that this is a track that immediately sets the tone, sets the table for the entire record, both from a musical standpoint, but also from a vocal standpoint. It's very soft sounding at times, a lot of folk elements on this track, which add great texture and presence to the song. The vocals sound more like a breeze in this track, really coming in soft and very methodic in the delivery, but very warm and angelic at the same time. And that really allows the track to travel really well, because musically and vocally everything is in unison with one another. The sound really creates the canvas, and the vocals are the brush that just paints upon it. Next we have Oh Lovely Oddities. This is an interesting track because it has a completely different dynamic. It still has some resemblances, but it's a song that's very unique in its own way, because to me it felt more like a Victorian music box that you open up and the song comes through it. It has a theatrical vibe attached to it. It's also a track that has a little bit more darkness in it. There's definitely a richer experience, both from the sound but also from the vocals. Here there's a lot more layers to the vocal performance, and I felt like those layers added to the theatrical essence of the song, but they also added to the darkness that the song has, or that dark ambiance that exists within the track. So it's a song that offers a lot more, at least in terms of depth and thickness, when it comes to the vocal performance, but at the same time it allows for a dynamic experience to exist throughout the track with ebbs and flows, both musically and vocally, that makes the song feel like it have a lot more movement. It feels like it flows a lot better, and definitely creating more of an impact on how different the vocals come across on this track and the darkness that exists within them. Last but definitely not least, Blakey Ridge. This is one of the tracks that has a little bit more emphasis on the guitar sound and on certain elements that are not as predominant throughout the entire record. And I thought that created a sense of uniqueness to the song, giving the track its own fingerprint, but at the same time not completely disconnecting from that sense of simplicity that exists throughout the entire record. It's a track that also allows the piano to take over, and when the piano takes over, you create that ambiance that it's something common throughout the album. So this is where you start to connect the dots. Then vocally, there's more emphasis on the vocals, not as soft. There are some softer parts within the song vocally, but I felt like there was a little bit more of an emphasis on delivering a different style of vocals in this song without using backing vocals. So you're still creating a more dynamic vocal performance, not a vocal performance that feels linear from start to finish without using an element that had been used before. So it's unique in its own way, but at the same time, it still has the experience of the album. It's also a very easy to listen song, perhaps one of the most pop inspired songs that the record has. It definitely has that radio playability to it, and it's a track that will work well in an individual basis, but definitely works really well in the overall context of the record. This is it, Auri with 3 Candles and Beginnings. Let me know your thoughts on the band on the singles. Hit me up in the comment section, and I'll see you all at the next video. Take care, guys.